The content presented in this podcast series, inclusive of text, graphics, images, or other material, is intended for general information purposes only. The information presented is not intended to substitute professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. You are advised to seek medical advice from a trained or qualified medical professional before introducing new items into your diet or healthcare regimen. Welcome to part 2 of our interview with Dr. Joanne Simmons-Boyce. For this episode, we will look further at her work as a natural products chemist, and we'll also discuss the process from plant to product.
I am a natural products chemist by training. I did my postgraduate work, as I said, in natural products chemistry, and I was fortunate at the time to be working for a pharmaceutical company that was basically conducting a large scale bioprospecting project where we were collecting Barbadian plants, including those used for traditional medicinal practices, and we were taking these plants, extracting these plants with organic solvents, and you would end up with several organic extracts depending on what type of compounds you were looking from to take out of the plant. And then these extracts were then sent for testing against different targets that they were looking for. So that that of course, along with my PhD research, really excited me because it meant that I got to see firsthand if a lot of these practices that we do, and when I say we, I mean general Barbadians and even Caribbean people, I got to see this firsthand and got to experience from a scientific perspective if, in fact, these plants and concoctions that we drink, the bushi and that kind of thing, if in fact they had the desired effects that we thought that they have. Um, so that is basically my training. I left Barbados in at the end of 2005 and went to the National Research Council of Canada at the Institute for Marine Biosciences. And my work there also involved looking at health benefits. And in this case, now it was seaweed because seaweed, and certainly the one that I worked on, Ascophyllum nodosum, it is known as Braddock in Atlantic Canada. That seaweed is a very popular seaweed. It's very easy to find along the Atlantic coast, the coast of Nova Scotia. And so I was looking at the potential health benefits of the seaweed and doing it from the point of view where we were feeding rats, supplementing their diet basically with seaweed and looking at the effects of the seaweed on their urinary profiles. So again, I did that with seaweed. I also did it with cranberries and blueberries. So you get to see firsthand if the purported results of ingesting these plants and their berries and that kind of thing, if it is really worth the effort and if it really has the effect that it says it does. The truth is, a lot of the medicine that we consume today, a lot of those compounds were originally isolated from plants.
Yeah, yeah.
But of course, you can't, plant acres and acres and acres and extract
Yeah,
kilograms and kilograms, tons and tons of plant
yeah.
material. So
Not
what happens
feasible.
is these pharmaceutical companies, a lot of pharmaceutical companies do a similar type of project or research where, yes, you do this large screening. And when you find a plant then that is positive in your assays and giving you the desired activity that you want, especially if this activity is high. So suppose 70% or 75% is your threshold. When you find, say, 3 plants or 5 plants, because even though you screen thousands of plants, you know that you might not find 10 plants that are positive in your screen.
Yes.
So the amount of plants that you will generally find in relation to the amount of plants that you've screened would typically be a small proportion. But when you find a positive extract, what would normally happen then is that that extract would then be fractionated. So we would do column chromatography, and we would fractionate this crude plant extract into its individual components, because certain chemical compounds are extracted by nonpolar solvents, and then you have others. You can then increase the polarity of the solvents to determine what types of compounds you pull out of the crude plant extract. So you would take the plant basically and grind it up in like methanol, for example, and that, well, a methanol water mixture, and that would give you your crude plant extract. Then if that extract now showed positive activity in their bioassay, what would happen is that you would then fractionate this extract. So you might now extract this with dichloromethane, for example, to get a more non-polar, or hexane to get a less polar plant extract, and you would now send that back for testing. Now, what you might find is that you have a hexane extract, ethyl acetate extract, you might have a butanol extract, and then you have what remains in the aqueous layer. That's the water layer. So the things that are more polar. And depending on which one of those extracts now shows activity in their assay, then you take that extract and you further fractionate it. Ideally, you are looking to find a single compound. So this is your best case scenario. You're looking to isolate a single chemical compound that you can do structural elucidation on, find out what its chemical structure is. And then once you've gotten to that point, if this compound is still showing very good activity, then the synthetic chemist now will take it from there, and they will start to synthesize the compound, find a route for synthesis. Once you find that route for synthesis, of course, testing continues. And then that is how then you go through the process. So the testing is positive, then you do your animal testing. And then once you make it through all the animal trials and you haven't killed any animals and things are looking positive, then you look now to scale up and start your human trials.
This would
And
be
of
like
course,
clinical trials.
yes, when you get to the point of human trials, it's an exciting but a nerve-wracking experience, because of course, if you certainly don't want to kill a rat or any laboratory animal, to be honest, and you really don't want to kill a human either.
Exactly, exactly.
So it's a very long process from the plant extract to actually getting an isolate that makes it to market as a potential drug. The challenge with herbal medicine is the dosage
Yeah,
and consistency, because as a researcher looking at plants and their components and that kind of thing, I can tell you for a fact, plants produce different compounds under different conditions.
yes, it's true.
The what I grow in St. Lucie, the chemical profile of that is going to be completely different from what somebody grows, say, in St. George or in St. Philip.
Exactly.
I might
Soil
not
is
be getting,
different.
yes, I might not be getting a lot of rain in St. Lucie, but the person who lives in St. George, they might get rain every day. It will mean that my plant is under stress and
Yeah,
that their plant probably isn't. And the chemicals that the plant synthesizes are very dependent on the conditions that the plant is grown in.
mm-hmm.
And therefore, the challenge with herbal products is consistency.
Yeah,
So you have the whole challenge of dosage, because if you can't control component A and component B in this particular ratio in a given plant from place to place, then obviously when you collect that plant and it is say dried or you steep it or whatever, you can't control how much of component A you're actually ingesting either.
yeah, yeah,
And that has been the challenge for a lot of the medical doctors, because people will say, "Oh, I'm not taking my medication for hypertension. I'm going to use these herbal remedies." But this morning, you might take one sprig of parsley, and that sprig might have on three leaves. And tomorrow, you might take another sprig of parsley, but this was a big one this time, so now it has on six or seven
It's true. And
pretty
then,
leaves
yeah,
on it.
what you're taking it to is no different from day to day.
Exactly. So you
Yeah.
you are not being consistent, and it's almost impossible, I would say, for you
Yeah.
to be absolutely consistent with the parsley. And obviously, the parsley that you buy this week at the supermarket or that you pull from your garden is not going to be the same as
Yeah.
the one that you pull necessarily next week. You cannot guarantee consistency,
It's true.
and that is one of the challenges that faces the
Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
herbal
Herbal
industry,
medicine. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But
And
I still use them, Jamila, and I can tell you that if either myself or my husband, if we feel like we're coming down with a cold, we will blend an orange with some garlic and turmeric
yeah.
and cayenne pepper and a little bit of honey, and we will drink that. And I find that it actually works. You know, in like a few hours, certainly by the next day, you feel completely different. You don't feel like you're getting sick anymore.
Yeah.
And that's something that
Most.
we've been doing now for probably like almost 2 years.
Yeah. It sounds
Like,
like it will be boosting the immune system and boosting
yes,
your
it does.
body.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the orange will have your vitamin C, you have your
Yeah.
anti viral compounds in the garlic. So
Yep.
there is a lot of benefit, I would say, to herbal medicine, and then you can certainly use it. I still take my eye drops and stuff for glaucoma, but I also supplement with my
Yeah.
carotenoids, and I also supplement with like the bilberry and stuff because I can see in the literature where there's a direct link between improvement using these herbal products and improvement in your general eye health, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Use
so
along with the normal medication as
I use it a
prescribed, and
lot, yes, to
they help. They
complement.
tend to complement and help one
Yeah,
another
yeah.
in terms of getting an overall positive effect.
Overall good results,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was interesting about your work and natural products chemistry, and it has given us a little bit of insight into how we go from thinking that something has some type of activity or usefulness against some disease or cold or flu or whatever, and getting it from the plant into something physical and then testing and the process to get from a plant to market
Good
and
drug.
something that you will see on a shelf or you'll be prescribed by the doctor. So that's a
Mhm.
great overview that you gave of that process. Yeah, so thank you again. And
Thank you,
that's it
Jamila.
for now. So thank you.
Bye.
Bye.